From Golden Life Creative Vision Studios, we create wisdom through vision. Every story begins as a spark. Every spark becomes light. And through light, we create wisdom. Golden Life Creative Vision Studios.
You hear it at the beginning of ancient prayers. You see it inscribed over temple doorways all across the globe. And honestly, you've probably chanted it yourself in a yoga studio. It is, without a doubt, the most recognized spiritual symbol in the entire world. And yet, its deepest secrets are completely misunderstood by almost everyone. So let's dive into this. Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're going on a really fascinating journey to deconstruct the syllable Om. We're going to strip away all the common misconceptions and look at this thing not just as some cultural artifact, but as an elegant piece of ancient grammar, a profound map of human consciousness, and, as you'll see by the end, a totally tangible biological tool that is actually proven by modern neuroscience.
Here's our roadmap for today. We've got the grammar mystery, states of consciousness, anatomy of the symbol, sacred archery, the science of vibration, and finally the sound of peace.
Section 1. The grammar mystery. OM or AUM? To really wrap our heads around this sacred sound, we have to start by tackling a massive misconception about how it's actually spelled and pronounced. You've probably seen it written out as AUM, and you've definitely heard people, maybe even yoga instructors, pronounce it as this disjointed But here's the thing, that pronunciation is fundamentally flawed. Grammatically speaking, breaking it into 3 distinct, separated sounds is just totally incorrect. The true grammatically accurate form is a single continuous sound. In traditional texts, it's actually written with the Sanskrit numeral 3. But why is that?
Well, the answer comes down to a super strict rule in classical Sanskrit grammar called Sandhi. Sandhi basically dictates that when adjacent letters meet, they merge. And this grammatical law is absolute. When the short vowel A is followed by the vowel U, they literally have to combine to form the single letter O. They can never just sit side by side in spoken Sanskrit. So grammatically, Om is a single, continuous, elegant sound. In the ancient Vedas, it's classified as a pluta vowel, which just means it's prolonged to 3 units of duration. And that is exactly why that numeral 3 is in the correct spelling. It's a visual cue, reminding the chanter to really stretch out the O before finally closing it off with the nasal hum of the M.
Section 2. States of Consciousness. Based on the Mandukya Upanishad.
Okay, so if Om is truly just one continuous sound, why on earth do ancient texts constantly deconstruct it back into those 3 letters, A, U, and M? To figure that out, we turn to the Mandukya Upanishad, which is this brilliant ancient philosophical treatise. You see, the sages weren't dividing the sound for pronunciation purposes, they deconstructed it purely for meditative analysis. They systematically mapped each phonetic quarter to a specific state of human consciousness. So the first letter, A, is the waking state, or Jāgrat. This is our normal, outward-focused awareness of the physical world. Then, the second letter, U, is the dream state, Svapna. And think about it, just as U sits right between A and M, dreams sit right between waking and deep sleep. It's our inward-focused, luminous, intermediate reality. Finally, the M represents Suṣupti, which is deep, dreamless sleep. It's this undifferentiated mass of latent consciousness, a state of ultimate deep rest and pure potential.
But wait, because the deconstruction doesn't just stop with the letters. And honestly, this is my absolute favorite part. Beyond the A, the U, and the M lies the A mantra. This is the partless silence that physically follows the chant. This lingering silence represents Turīya. It's the 4th state, the transcendental state of non-dual, pure, peaceful awareness. It is the true self, the absolute Brahman that quietly underlies all those other 3 states of waking, dreaming, and sleeping.
Section 3. Anatomy of the symbol. A map of the mind.
Now that we've got a handle on the philosophy, let's look at how the ancients translated all of this directly into visual design. Because this brilliantly shows how the written Devanagari symbol of Om isn't just some random squiggle. It is literally a highly sophisticated geometric map of the human mind. Let's anchor everything we just learned directly to the shape itself. That large lower curve? That represents the waking state, the foundational physical world we all interact with every day. The middle curve branching out from the right side symbolizes the dream state, acting as a sort of bridge. And that upper curve on the left represents deep sleep, the latent, unmanifested state.
But look closely, right above those curves, you'll see this crescent semicircle hanging at the top of the symbol. This represents Maya, which is the veil of illusion. This veil essentially acts as a barrier, physically separating our individual ego, represented by the waking, dreaming, and sleeping curves we just talked about, from the absolute truth sitting at the very top. And what exactly is that absolute truth? It's the Bindu. It's the little dot nestled right there inside the crescent. That dot represents Turīya, that pure, non-dual consciousness, the profound silence we discussed earlier. So the anatomy of the symbol itself is this brilliant visual reminder that to realize our true divine nature, we have to actually transcend the material illusions of Maya that are physically separating the bottom of the symbol from the pure consciousness at the top.
Section 4. Sacred Archery. Om in classical yoga. So we have the grammar and we have the symbol. But how did the ancients actually use this knowledge in practice? Well, the Mundaka Upanishad describes Om using this incredibly dynamic, powerful metaphor of sacred archery. It says, "Take the great Upanishadic weapon as a bow. Place upon it the arrow of the self, sharpened by meditation. Draw the string with a mind focused entirely on the divine. Om is the bow, the individual Atman is the arrow, and Brahman is the mark to be penetrated." The crucial takeaway here is that chanting acts as an undivided concentration practice. You draw your mind completely away from daily distractions, and through the power of the Om bow, you shoot the arrow of your soul directly into the Absolute.
And classical yoga builds exactly on this idea. The great sage Patanjali wrote in his Yoga Sutras, Tasya Vachaka Pranava, meaning the divine ideal of pure awareness is signified by Om. He prescribed japa, which is the continuous repetition of the sound combined with really deep contemplation of its meaning. So this isn't just about casually reciting a word. It's a very active daily path meant to literally dissolve mental and physical obstacles by turning your consciousness completely inward.
Section 5, Science of Vibration, the NIMHANS study.
All right, now it's time to pivot. We are leaving the ancient ashrams behind and stepping straight into a modern, high-tech neuroimaging laboratory at NIMHANS down in Bangalore, India. Researchers there conducted these groundbreaking fMRI studies on healthy volunteers who were chanting Om. And they didn't just let them chant however they wanted. They used a highly precise ratio of 1 to 2. The participants held the nasalized hum for exactly twice as long as the short O sound.
And let me tell you, the results inside the fMRI scanner were astonishing. They had the participants perform the Om chant, and then they also had them perform a control sound, which was just a simple S noise. The Om chant resulted in a massive, significant bilateral deactivation of the limbic system. And the control sound? Absolutely zero deactivation. This gives us hard, empirical, physiological evidence for those ancient claims of deep peace. But you might be wondering, what exactly does limbic system deactivation actually mean for you?
Well, here is the exact breakdown of which parts of the brain were physically calmed down. And the most important one is right there at the top, the amygdala. That is the brain's emotional fire alarm. It's the part responsible for fear, anxiety, and negative emotions. The chanting essentially turns this alarm off, decreasing blood flow to the hippocampus, the anterior cingulate cortex, and the orbitofrontal cortex. By uttering this specific, prolonged sound, the volunteers were literally switching off the fear centers in their own brains. And the biological mechanism driving this is just fascinating. It all comes down to vagus nerve stimulation. The intense physical vibrations created by holding that nasal M hum actually stimulate the auricular branch of the vagus nerve, which is located right in the ear. This sends an immediate, direct signal to the brain, telling it to lower its stress response. To put that into perspective, in modern medicine, vagus nerve stimulation is a literal clinical therapy used to treat serious conditions like depression and epilepsy. This ancient chant organically mimics that exact same clinical mechanism. It's wild.
Section 6. The Sound of Peace. Biology and Spirit.
So let's pull all of this together, from absolute grammatical perfection to the absolute frontiers of brain mapping. Whether you choose to view it through the lens of ancient Vedic philosophy, from the Upanishads, or through cutting-edge fMRI neuroimaging, Om is clearly far more than just a word or a cool design you see on a t-shirt. It is a highly tuned biological and spiritual technology. It connects the mind, the breath, and the vagus nerve to effectively quiet the noise of our daily lives. So I'm going to leave you with this question to chew on. How will you use this vibration, this map of consciousness, to find stillness and peace amidst all the stress of your modern life? If this journey, from ancient grammar to modern science, resonated with you, trust me, there is so much more to discover in the 108 Upanishads. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep exploring.
Into the breath, before the spoken word, a vibration begins, unfelt and unheard. From the base of the spine to the crown of the sky, where the waking minds dream and the illusions die. A car in the daylight, awake to the sun. You car in the dreamscape, where rivers still run. Car in the darkness of fathomless rest. The archer draws steady, the soul at its best. Through the bow of the sacred, the arrow flies clear, piercing the veil where we conquer all fear. Oh, then the pulse of the vast unknown, the sound of the universe carved into bone, beyond every shadow, beyond every sign. Turīya awakens the spark of divine. Oh, them, the sound of peace, calming the storm where the amygdala cried. Vagus nerve whispers, the senses subside. No broken syllables, one endless stream, waking the truth from the depth of the dream.